welcome everyone. This is like pre-COVID times, the Basilica full, standing room only. I feel real bad about the people standing because I have about a 45-minute homily here. But no, just kidding. It is great to see everyone. It is great to be together. The last line of this gospel, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth? Well, look around, everybody. Maybe at Notre Dame, if he comes here, he'll find it. But seriously, as we go through the Gospel of St. Luke, large questions loom about our faith, how to pray, how we interact with God. A few weeks ago, Luke said, if you had the faith the size of a mustard seed, you could move a tree into the ocean. Each week, he comes up with these tough questions. Tough questions about our faith. Tough questions about how we are to pray. And over again, we have to stop and think. We have to stop and see, what are we doing? It gives us an opportunity. I had an excellent homiletics professor. Maybe it didn't rub off on me, but he was one of these guys. He wouldn't need this microphone. He was a big man. He could project. But he had this theory that you should read the gospel 40 times out loud by yourself before you even begin to preach. And you know, I live in a residence hall. It's a nice place, but it's not soundproof. And I think the Dylanites would think that I had gone nuts or become a fundamentalist if I really did that. But occasionally I did do it. And it makes you almost memorize the gospel. In certain words, in certain phrases become so important, ones that you want to emphasize when you read the gospel. Words like, pray always, render a just decision, faith on earth, widows persistent, dishonest judge. One cannot help but think about the judicial system when you read this gospel, whether it's in our country, around the world, or throughout human history. I asked some colleagues this week, we had a lunch and we were talking, and I said, what do you guys think of the judicial system in the broadest sense? And I started off the conversation by being extremely honest. I've been called for jury duty 3 times. The first time I was in the seminary in California, and I really didn't want to serve. Graduate school was demanding, and it was just another responsibility that I thought I couldn't get out of. And when I got there, the defense attorney and the prosecutor asked you questions. And at the end of it, the prosecutor said to me, okay, as a seminarian, what's your field education? And I said, I work at San Quentin Prison as a chaplain assistant. And then he went further and further into asking me questions about the jail system and things like that. And then he said, you don't need to go any further. You are dismissed. And I kind of felt bad because I kind of thought I was being honest, and I thought the process was kind of strewed a different way. The next time, I was back here at Notre Dame teaching. And again, I came with that attitude, oh no, I'm going to be asked to be on this jury, and I'm going to have to get somebody to cover my classes, and oh my gosh. Just thinking about me and my struggle, my schedule, instead of being open-minded to the process of what we're all called to do in this country. And I was again dismissed for a series of questions, I think because I was a professor here and because I was a priest. The third time, I was selected. And I realized that this is my civic duty and I should do it. And I should go in there with an open mind and open heart. And hours before the trial started, it was settled. Well, this lunch that I went to, people told stories over and over again like that. There was one colleague of mine who said, I've never been called, but I'd like to do that. And I thought, that is the attitude we should enter into. That is the attitude we should enter into God as our judge with. Others talked about witnessing trials, being there to support a family member or a friend or a colleague, and told horror stories and told good things. I'm not here to put down lawyers, to put down judges, to put down even the jurors themselves. We all know that life is complicated. We all know that it is tough what happens. I am always impressed when I hear about these exoneration programs. Notre Dame's law school is very involved in that, where they go after people who are wrongly convicted and seek their freedom. What a wonderful thing to do. What a wonderful thing to put energy into. But our gospel is comparing judges. God is our judge, the corrupt judge. The gospel in Luke says, persistent in prayer, talks about our faithful relationship with God. Luke points out that we need to pray always without becoming weary. Prayer demands discipline and persistence. Yes, we all experience discouragement from prayers seemingly not answered. This should not lead us to abandonment, disappointment, and despair. We must continue. Luke offers concrete examples of persistence. The relationship between a judge who does not fear God or respect any human being, and a widow who is convinced she has not gotten the justice she deserves. This leads us to our expectations of how God is to act. God always acts justly. The challenge of this gospel is to keep on praying to God, whose will only good for us. Something that this requires is that we must change our minds sometimes. Our prayer is not to change God's mind. Perhaps Jesus meant the story of the widow to represent the state of humanity itself, suffering in time. The very conditions of our fallen nature need some final healing. There is no earthly final therapy. We all know that. There's no definite victory over death, no endless peace. Look at our world today. But there is endless forgiveness and reconciliation, the chance to start over again and again and again. St. Augustine, a great doctor of the church, who has written many scholarly pages on his own conversion and the support he had for that conversion through the prayers of his mother, wrote, "There is no saint without a past, and there's no sinner without a future." And if we look at the model of him as a model, we can see that there's always a chance for reconciliation. There's always a chance to deepen our prayer life in the prayer life of those around us, especially his mother. It is God who deemed all good things and abides in judgments beyond all the evidence we provide to the contrary. It is God who made our outstretched hands the crucified one, who even in the crushing loss said, "Into your hands I commend my spirit." This was the faith of Jesus' mother Mary when she held him in her hands at the foot of the cross. In this beautiful basilica, filled with these beautiful windows and paintings and sculptures, but one sculpture stands out, Ivan Mestrovich's, over there in the side chapel of the Pieta, that really shows that. It shows that woman's faith. It shows that woman's forgiveness. It shows that woman's sorrow, and how appropriate that this university is dedicated to her. What is required for us to pray always? Our very being must be a prayer, a petition. What is asked of us is that we never lose heart. Our very existence must become an act of trust. We must continue to believe in his promise. We must ask the question that ends the gospel from St. Luke over and over again for ourselves. When the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on this earth?